What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao. Thanks for joining us for the news. As aid pours in to help people in Hualien get back on their feet after last month's earthquake, our reporter Reese Ayers speaks to the residents of a town that relies almost entirely on tourism.
An important tourist base for visitors accessing the famous Taroko Gorge, Xincheng Old Street, nestled between the ocean and the entrance to Taroko National Park, now resembles a ghost town. Tourism has all but completely deserted this town of just over 20,000 people, which relies on tourists coming in and out of Taroko Gorge to sustain local businesses. But since the massive quake on April 3rd and the indefinite closure of Taroko National Park, the people here have had their livelihoods shattered, with no idea when things will get back to normal.
我们还在硬撑啊，看能撑多久算多久，因为毕竟你看我们现在没有收入了，几乎只有本地客。
最近这边因为地震的影响非常大，有的整个太鲁阁都几乎都是全毁，所以这边的游客就很少。
Xincheng Township is about 15 kilometers north of Hualien City, where much of the restoration efforts are taking place. Hualien is where buildings are being demolished or repaired, and families rehoused. But people in Xincheng feel they've been left behind.
当然是希望赶快进来呀，这些资讯，然后这些方案赶快实施，不要等到我们倒了你才进来，对我们就没有什么意义了。
目前最近是有一些新闻出来，就是说政府的补助来讲的话，他们是针对自由行的客人，外地的自由行的客人，然后他们在7月份的时候可能会推出，譬如说住宿的补助。对，那像我们这种店家的话，就是也没有什么补助。
Huge aid packages and waves of donations are pouring in to help rebuild Hualien, including an almost $1 billion aid package agreed on by the central government. For now, efforts are focused on helping the most vulnerable and identifying the buildings most at risk of collapse, leaving local businesses like the ones here in Xincheng with no choice but to wait their turn. Joseph Wu, Patrick Chen and Reese Ayers in Hualien County for TaiwanPlus.
The U.S. and Taiwan have held the second round of talks under a major trade initiative.
主要的是集中在3个题目，第一个是农业问题，第二个是劳工的保护，第三个是环境的保护。
During the week-long talks in Taipei, the U.S. side pressed Taiwan on the need to prevent forced labor in its supply chains. Other topics covered were exports of Taiwanese produce, promoting eco-friendly businesses, and technology cooperation on combating climate change. The talks took place under the U.S.-Taiwan Initiative on 21st Century Trade, a framework pact signed in June last year. China has launched an uncrewed spacecraft to the far side of the moon. The Chang'e 6 probe will collect rocks and soil from the part of the moon that's facing away from Earth. China is the first country to attempt such a mission. If successful, it would be a milestone as Beijing works to become a major space power. The launch comes as more countries push their lunar and space exploration programs. Once known as a destination for high-end shopping and luxury travel, Hong Kong is now seeing more tourists from mainland China visiting on a budget. Wesley Lewis has more.
Finding the perfect shot. These tourists in Hong Kong are hunting for the city's most photo-friendly spots. First-time visitor Laura Lee has joined a group of people posing in front of the old Yau Ma Tei police station, a popular filming location for movies and TV shows. She's one of the growing number of travelers from the Chinese mainland who are moving away from the standard luxury shopping and guided tours. Instead, they are choosing to explore the city's trendiest spots on their own.
然后，比如说你来到了一个地方，你会去搜它这个现在最近流行什么。然后，比如说最近它就是比较流行的那个打卡点。 就是刚刚的那个艺术中心，还有那个李嘉诚同款首饰的那个，然后我们就，其实就算是一种跟风吧，告诉大家，哎，这个我也做了，我也拍了。
Lee scrolls through social media app Xiaohongshu, China's version of Instagram, to find popular destinations around Hong Kong. Once there, she mimics the trendy poses she sees on the app for her own photos. Money-conscious travelers like Lee are using the Hong Kong metro to get around, and choosing accommodations just outside the city.
因为就是如果是同样价位下的话，我可以在周边，比如说深圳啊，住到更好的酒店、更好的环境，而且来到这边的话也不是很费力。
Chinese tourists like Li used to see Hong Kong as a high-end shopping destination, but she says it's now more economical to shop for such products in Japan or through online platforms back in mainland China. While in Hong Kong, she is more willing to spend money on local food. Academics say that after the pandemic, China's Gen Z travelers have become more frugal.
The China economy recovery speed was not as good as what we expected. So that's why when people utilize their disposable income, so they now become more cautious. So traveling is not a highly necessary activity. So that's why they prefer spending less money on traveling and even other luxurious consumption.
Hong Kong's businesses are struggling to keep up with this shift in tourist spending habits. Many shops have closed, and the city's leaders have already set aside funds to boost tourism in the city. But as travelers continue to move away from the luxury boutiques and toward photogenic spots like the harbor, Hong Kong may need to work harder to adapt to the change in preferences of its visitors. Luffy Lee and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Floods have killed at least 39 people in Brazil, with around 70 still missing. Heavy rain caused flooding and landslides in the country's southernmost state of Rio Grande do Sul. Over 17,000 people have been displaced. The partial collapse of a hydroelectric dam has worsened the flooding. President Lula da Silva has visited the disaster area. Meteorologists have forecast more rain in the coming days. The unusual rainfall is thought to be due to the El Niño climate phenomenon. Police in Canada have charged 3 men with the murder of a Sikh separatist leader last year. They're looking into whether the men had ties to India's government. Hardeep Singh Nijjar was shot dead outside a Sikh temple in the Vancouver area. He was a Canadian citizen who advocated for an independent Sikh homeland. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau later said that there was evidence that the Indian government was involved in that killing, prompting a diplomatic crisis between Canada and India. U.S. President Joe Biden has awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Everything Everywhere All at Once actor Michelle Yeoh.
As the first Asian actor to win an Oscar as Best Actress, she bridges cultures not only to entertain, but also inspire and open hearts, and that's what she keeps doing. Congratulations.
Academy Award for Best Actress.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom is the highest civilian award in the U.S. Among the 19 recipients this year was Katie Ledecky, the most decorated female swimmer in history, and Ellen Ochoa, the first Hispanic woman in space. The White House also honored key political allies in the Democratic Party, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, former Vice President Al Gore, and former Secretary of State John Kerry. Taiwan's government is proposing letting foreign nationals work as social workers to ease a shortage in that field.
卫福部经过检讨政策之后，就建议在我们的白领审查标准里面去新增，让这个外国人包括侨外学生的毕业生可以受聘雇从事社会工作师的工作。
Taiwan faces a nationwide shortage of about 500 social workers, with about 10% of all openings unfilled. The situation is especially bad in New Taipei, the country's largest city. The plan is to allow the hiring of foreign nationals who hold social worker qualifications. Social workers and their caseloads have been in the public eye recently. That's after the death of a 1-year-old child in foster care who was allegedly abused by their caretaker. A Tibetan living in exile in Taiwan has settled down here after years of fighting for citizenship with his family. Our reporter Sandy Chi explains how he persevered through those challenges with the help of music.
A song full of complicated emotions. This is Longdup Tsering, a Tibetan musician living in exile in Hualien in eastern Taiwan. He left his homeland at the age of 19 and has been away for decades. He settled down in Taiwan after meeting his Taiwanese wife, Tai Yongqing, in India 16 years ago. Though living far from his home country, Tsering has not forgotten his roots. Making a new home for himself in Taiwan has not been easy, but memories of Tibet have helped him keep going. He channels his emotions into the Tibetan music he creates.
我觉得我的处境的关系，我写出来的东西就比较悲伤了一点。
For nearly a decade, Tsering has fought to obtain citizenship in Taiwan. The process was arduous and filled with challenges, but his music gave him peace and the strength to continue.
对他来说是生命，也是一个花园，就是他可以在里面 很自在的，就是浇灌啊、养殖啊，他在里面很享受，然后他也在里面得到救赎。就是他遇到任何的困难、磨难的时候，他其实不会表现出来，但是他会把它用创作的方式把它记录。我觉得他有点像是在用创作写他的生命日记。
Turing finally obtained Taiwan citizenship in 2018, and that was when his music changed.
那慢慢呢，也因为生命的历练不同，然后他在后来的几个唱片的音乐里面，我们也看到比如说通往幸福的路，或者是说我们在这里相遇，他其实也转译了另外一种的形式，让他的音乐更有诗意。
我就是想要写的西藏人能听就好。西藏人能听的，那时候我基本上都是流行为主。在台湾，我开始就拿西藏的传统乐器，才正式的去唱西藏的，可以说正式的去展现吧，西藏的传统的歌也好，然后自己的创新这样。
Turing continues to share songs from his home with friends and family. He has also passed down Tibetan culture and music to his oldest son.
我就用我的节拍去配他而已，他觉得哪里不好，他会跟我讲，然后我们再去调，对，然后调好的话，他可能再会去做更细的，说哪里觉得他不够好，或者他觉得已经够好了，那就可以去表演或者拿来使用。
你听啊。
Turing has lived in Taiwan for well over a decade. Despite being over 3,000 kilometers away from his homeland, he remains deeply connected to his roots, actively sharing his culture within the wider Taiwanese community. Along with his family, his music is his anchor, forging an emotional tie between his old home and his new one. Leon Lian and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's presidential inauguration is just 2 weeks away, and some university students here are getting ready to put on a show for the big day. John Van Triest gives us a sneak preview.
150 students from National Taiwan Sport University take to the field in formation. This is a rehearsal for one of the biggest events of the year, the presidential inauguration on May 20th. Students at this university make up 5 of the groups that will perform in the festivities. They include a taekwondo group, a baseball team, and a jazz cheerleading squad. The students will put on a tribute to Taiwan's athletes ahead of another of the year's big events.
更重要的是，今年2024年，台湾的这个台湾英雄将要前进巴黎奥运。
But athletic prowess isn't the only thing these performers will be showing off. Taiwan's cultures, especially those of its indigenous peoples, will be on full display.
展现出比较多外国那种的感觉，像我们这次的话，就主要是有我们本土文化。
非常谢谢学校给我们原住民这个机会，让我们能够发展原住民的文化。
The groups have just 2 more weeks of rehearsals left. And when dignitaries from around the world gather on the big day, these young performers will be aiming to leave a lasting impression. Delphine Chen and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
Scientists have discovered a new algae species in Taiwan, and they believe it could transform the way cities treat their wastewater. The international team found the algae in a hot spring on Yangmingshan, a volcanic mountain on the outskirts of Taipei. They say it can tolerate a hot, acidic environment that can also absorb toxic heavy metals. The team believes that this means the algae could one day be used to treat polluted water. Thanks for watching What's Up Taiwan. Visit our website or follow our social media for more. And now, before we go, check out these daylilies blooming in Zanghua in central Taiwan. I'm Eric Gao. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.